There's some other teams that may get into that tier, but let's talk about them. Let's talk about SMU. Let's talk about Clemson. Let's talk about Louisville. We'll start down in Dallas with the SMU Mustangs, Rhett Lashlee's Fighting Mustangs. Rhett Lashlee has really kind of put a hard floor with SMU. They beat Miami at home last year, lost some tough games. They finished the season 9-4. They were 11-3 and in the playoff the year before that. But Ryan, I'm going to come to you. What do you like? What do you not like about the SMU Mustangs in the ACC race this year?
I mean, it really all goes through Kevin Jennings. When I think SMU, I think he gives them a very, very high ceiling. I think that they are right there with any team. I think the odds reflect this to win the ACC. I don't think their schedule is too unbearable this year. I think they can win a lot of games. I am a little concerned about their defense. I don't know. It's something about SMU just still doesn't feel like a big time ACC program. It seems like they still have a little bit of that underdog mentality, and the defense seems to struggle a little bit when it comes to big games. And I don't know if that will change as they continue to spend money and bring guys in the portal. But I do like SMU. I was looking at a lot of their win totals, and SMU seemed to be the one team where I kept on looking odds. I kept on coming back to them. I think that those are pretty good odds for what they are. And when I'm looking at a team like Miami and a team like SMU and comparing them, I come back to Kevin Jennings being the guy that separates those two teams. So I'm high on SMU overall. I don't want to give too much away, but SMU and Louisville are the two teams after doing this preview where I came out the highest on, honestly.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Marsh, I know it's going to be hard to pump the tires of some of these other ACC teams, but just looking at SMU objectively, there have to be some things that you kind of like, and they're not on Miami's schedule in the regular season. Could see them in the ACC Championship, but you obviously saw your Canes take an L over in Dallas last year, so got to have at least a certain baseline level of respect for what Rhett Lashlee has done and what he's building at SMU.
Yeah, listen, Rhett Lashlee comes from Miami, right? That's where he looked amazing. He turned a Tyler Van Dyke into a pretty damn good quarterback that season. They scored a lot of points. I look at his body of work and what he's done at SMU. Goes back to SMU where kind of his roots were, and signs a long-term deal. He's a hometown guy. Like they love him there, and he's done a great job. There's no way around it. Kevin Jennings is a good quarterback. I think you look at the history of Rhett Lashlee and his offenses, and there's a lot of these kind of short, quick passes, slot passes, etc., and then boom, they hit you with the play action deep ball. I think he is a lot of the reason that Kevin Jennings is so good. Kevin Jennings, I think, a little dark horse for Heisman. I would dangle that carrot out there as far as juicy odds are concerned when we're looking at some long odds there. But it's very clear that Rhett Lashlee is building an offense that makes it super easy for Kevin Jennings to have reads, right? There's not typically a third read that Kevin Jennings is getting to in a lot of instances. That's when he starts to use his legs and his mobility to escape the pocket and make something out of nothing. So it's a very clear-cut system that I think Kevin Jennings thrives in. And when you look at Miami versus SMU, offensive line is a problem for SMU too. They lost they returned 3 starters, but they lost 3 as well. They lost Chris Johnson Jr. He went over to Clemson. You look at kind of the receiver depth too. They lost a lot of talent. Yamir Knight is a name that stands out. Rhett Lashlee even said he should catch anywhere from 70 to 100 passes. So they're going to put a lot through kind of that quick route, almost Malachi Tony-esque. I hate to keep making Miami references. Listen, Rhett Lashlee kind of comes from that mold of what they're doing there, and they're going to get the ball in his hands and let him kind of create and then try to hit the deep ball once the safeties start cheating up. I like what Rhett Lashlee's done there. I like SMU. They had a great red zone defense last year. I'd like to think that is solely contributed to Carson Beck, who I think had like 3 turnovers in the red zone in that loss last year. We should have easily won that game. I will pump their tires to an extent. the fact that you have the experience and the athleticism in Kevin Jennings, and Rhett Lashlee gets yet another year of him in that offense, they should take a little bit of a leap forward from that standpoint. But I just don't see them as giant slayers this year. I don't see them as somebody who's going to go in the playoff and make noise. We saw what happened when they won the ACC and they got, stomped out in the playoffs. We talked about the ACC and kind of the ambiguity of it. And I think you're going to see this team probably look really good for most of the season. Their schedule is very light. At Louisville, week 3 is really one that stands out. And then you get all the way to the end of the season where it's like at Notre Dame and at Stanford are your last 2 games. I think if Miami plays anybody in the ACC Championship, it will probably be the Mustangs. I just don't see them as contenders necessarily when we start to get to playoff contention and conversation.
I'm kind of right there with you. I don't know that they're necessarily a team that I love as a playoff team. Looking at their odds over regular season, over under is 8.5. I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, they open the season at Florida State on Labor Day night. I think they win that game. That's a tough spot because that Florida State crowd, we saw it last year, opening week against Alabama. The crowd got behind the Noles and just kind of avalanched on Alabama there in Doak. And the same thing could happen on Labor Day night to SMU if the crowd's liking what they're seeing with the Ashton Daniels and the new Florida State roster. I think if SMU goes to Tallahassee, gets that win on Labor Day night, I think they're off to the races. And then it's really at Louisville, September 19th, like Marsh said. And then outside of that, I mean, you got to think that at Notre Dame, November 21st, the weekend before Thanksgiving, that's probably a loss. But that puts you at 11-1 if that's really the only loss that you can truly confidently pencil them in for. They get Virginia at home. They get Virginia Tech at home, at Louisville and at Notre Dame, at Florida State. So even if you lose those 3 games, I think, you're 9-3, you hit the over on the 8.5, right? So I like the over with this team, but it might be a 9-3, a pretty close call over that hits.
What was the over under on SMU wins again?
8.5.
Yeah, and that's why I like
the shit out of that.
Because I looked at it and I even said I'm going to give them Florida State, Louisville, Virginia, Notre Dame. I was like 3 or 4 losses there. You just have to get 1 win there, and you should hit that 9 number. So that's why
I agree.
I like that a lot more than I like the Hurricanes at 10.5.
Yeah, Miami's obviously inflated due to the national championship appearance and the run they went on last year. But as an ACC person, knowing what SMU is capable of and the fact that schedule is a little suspect, we'll call it, outside of Louisville and Notre Dame, to Ryan's point, there's no doubt in my mind that they win 9 or more games. I don't see a glaring loss on there outside of one of those 2 teams in Louisville and Notre Dame. Over 8.5 seems like a mortal lock.
Agreed. I think we're all in unison there. To win the ACC is plus 750. Not terrible.
That's
they're plus 750 and Louisville's next at plus 800. It seems like whoever wins that game in September is likely the team that you would kind of pencil in to play Miami in the ACC championships at plus 750 and plus 800. And you're probably not looking at a money line that high against Miami on a neutral field if one of them gets to that point.
Yeah, I look at plus 750 to win the ACC. That's definitely juicy. I think the only reason it's maybe that high is obviously you think about they got to get through Miami, but